Hi, it's Paul Pritchard here. Today we're going to talk about valuations. For me, in the world of money and high finance, people are measured by their net worth, not really by their cash flow. So for me, it's the valuations on your assets which is the key to your net worth. And then for me, further, it's the lending valuations that make the most difference to us. So when you have a higher valuation, it gives you more money to, say, buy another property, have some more financial buffers in place. You will get cheaper lending with a lower LVR. And then overall, that can be your measure of net worth through the lending valuations that you get. So what we're going to talk today about here is how to get the most from your valuations. Valuations are not an exact science. They're done by introverts who turn up to your property. They're there for about 10 minutes. They don't really want to talk to you. And in the end, what they can really do, they have two choices. The first thing is they can give you the valuation we've requested, or they can go and lowball you and cover their ass. What a valuer is actually after, as per the valuation principles, is they've got to have 3 comparable sales plus or minus 5% of the price within the last 3 to 6 months. Now that's the only science we got. The reality is there's a massive variation from what the valuers do and what the lenders will do. Each lender has their own profile of how they instruct the valuers. So on that, lenders have their own ways, but the 3 main ways that lenders will use to get a valuation is one's called Valex, which is like a big rotation system which has several valuers on that panel, as they call it, and then the lenders go to Valex and say, hey, can we have a valuation on this property? And then the next valuer in the line is then assigned to come to your house and then give the bank a copy of that valuation. The second way is called a desktop valuation, whereas the bank has a team of people in-house that assess what the valuation they believe your property is worth. The third way is an online or automated valuation, whereas usually they use the data from RP data or CoreLogic, and then they make an automated assessment. And for us, that as a mortgage broker, they would give us a range that they can choose from and then a midpoint. And if we're happy with that midpoint, we can proceed usually with the loan at that amount. In relation to profile, just know that some of the banks instruct the valuers in different ways. Banks have different risk profiles, and it's no joke that some banks say to valuers, please come in at up to 10% under the current market price to cover the bank's backside and the valuer's PI cover. So you've got to be wary and be aware of that. So the way forward for valuations, as I see it, is that the banks are going to try and save money. Even though the valuers only get $200 or less per valuation, if they have so many thousands of valuations going on at any particular time, and the more they can do in-house or online and in an automated way, the more money they will save as an institution. So I see the valuers out in the field decreasing over time, and then I know that all the banks and the institutions have been collecting data for at least 5 to 8 years on all the property sales in Australia. So then they will be able to go on and do an automated process to value your house. And then it is only by exception that then, if we're not happy with that low valuation, for want of a term, that we can get a valuer to go out to your house. There are some current stories that we've got, and there'll be a table coming up after this. But really, in summary, we've had a variation of 10%, a variation of 12%, and then a massive variation with a property between 1 and 1.5 million of 25%. So as you can see, if valuations equal your net worth and those valuations come in low and there's such variances, for me that's a bit of a joke. For me, valuers are meant to come in somewhere between 5 and 8% of the fair dinkum current market value. But as I say, in these 3 examples alone, they're way outside that. So valuations, again, is not an exact science. Lenders are saying come in low, and getting a couple of valuations is a real tip, but we'll go into that next. So our way for you is we always get 2 valuations up front for you, especially for a refinance. We then also say to you, do a bit of homework yourself and get 1, 2, maybe 3 examples of comparable sales, plus or minus 5% in the last 3 to 6 months to the ideal profile that the lender's asking the valuer to do, and do a bit of homework for them. That when the valuer comes and turns up, you greet them nicely, know that they're not really going to want to talk to you, but then you give them this bit of paper and say, hey, I've done some homework here and I believe my house is worth this because of these reasons, and the reasons are these property sales in my local area to the profile they're meant to make. Another few rules that we like to do is make sure if you're purchasing these days, especially with the big booms in the capital cities, some of the valuers don't keep up with that. And then also with the directions from the lenders of coming in a bit low, it's not always the case that the price you have agreed on market to pay for that property to purchase that is what the value will come in at. That's something to be really careful of. So make sure before you exchange or your contract goes unconditional, you've covered your butt by getting a bit of paper from the bank saying, hey, the valuation has come in at this and we're happy to lend you this amount of money. So really what it comes down to me is taking a little bit of time, knowing about valuers, knowing about lenders, knowing about what they're both looking for, and learning about what the system is asking of them to really look at what you can do to get the best valuation for you, because a better valuation for you equals a higher net worth for you. And for me, in the game of property and money, it's all about net worth. If you'd like any more information on this, and we really step people through the valuation process, make sure you give us a call. I look forward to meeting you. Cheers.